The bitter wind of glaciers howled across the battlefield, carrying with it the metallic scent of blood and the acrid tang of discharged weapons. Commander Julian Reeves stood amid the carnage, his massive frame encased in obsidian battle armor. Crimson light pulsed along the seams of his suit, casting an eerie glow across the snow-covered ground and the bodies strewn across it. "Perimeter secure, Commander," Lieutenant Wade's voice crackled through his comm, "all hostiles neutralized except for one. Awaiting your orders." Julian acknowledged with a grunt and turned toward the lone survivor, a female warrior kneeling in the crimson-stained snow 20 paces away. Her dual blades, slick with both human and alien blood, were planted in the frozen ground, serving as her only support. The alien woman's golden skin had a luminescent quality even in the dim light of Glacius's setting suns. Her hair, a striking shade of copper that seemed to catch fire with the dying light, had partially escaped from its intricate battle braid. Her form-fitting combat suit, black with shimmering red energy lines, was torn in several places, revealing more of that unusual golden flesh beneath. Despite her wounds and the obvious exhaustion, there was still a fierce dignity in her posture as Julian approached. Her amber eyes, vertical pupils dilating with fear, watched his every move. She knew what came next. The humans had shown no mercy to her kind since the conflict began 3 months ago. Why would this encounter be any different? He raised his plasma rifle, its barrel glowing with lethal energy. One more dead Solarite wouldn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Just another casualty in humanity's relentless march across the stars. "Don't kill me, human," her voice was surprisingly melodic despite the fear that made it tremble. "I'll serve you willingly." Julian froze, his finger hovering over the trigger. The alien's words hung in the frigid air between them, unexpected and jarring. In all his years fighting across a dozen worlds, he had never encountered surrender quite like this. "What did you say?" he demanded, his deep voice amplified by his helmet speakers. The Solarite woman's gaze never wavered from his visor where she knew his eyes must be. "Your people are winning this war. Mine are dying. I choose to live." Her grip tightened on her blade hilts. "I am Zaria Dean, elite assassin of the Solarite Conclave. I have skills beyond battle that could prove valuable to you." Julian lowered his weapon slightly, more out of surprise than mercy. "You'd betray your people. Your leaders." A bitter laugh escaped her amber-tinged lips. "My warlord sent me and my unit to die as a distraction while he relocated our main forces. I owe him nothing." She coughed, a small spray of golden blood speckling the pristine snow. "Besides, your kind will conquer us eventually. I'm merely being pragmatic." Something about her words rang true. Intelligence had reported fracturing among the Solarite military leadership. If she was indeed an elite assassin, she could be valuable, far more valuable than as another corpse on this frozen battlefield. "Stand up," Julian ordered, lowering his weapon completely but keeping it ready. Zaria struggled to her feet, using her blades as support. Once upright, she pulled them from the ground and, in a gesture that surprised him, offered them hilt first toward him. "My life is yours, human. Do with it what you will." Julian accepted the weapons, noting their unusual balance and the strange, almost luminescent metal of their blades. "My name is Commander Reeves. Julian Reeves." He studied her face, looking for any sign of deception. "Will you accept capture, Zaria Dean? What choice do I have?" Her voice had steadied now, though whether from resignation or determination he couldn't tell. Before he could respond, Lieutenant Wade approached, his weapon trained on Zaria. "Sir, what are your orders regarding the prisoner?" Julian studied the alien woman for a long moment. Protocol demanded he either eliminate her or send her to a detention facility for interrogation. But something in those amber eyes gave him pause, intelligence, pride, and a desperate will to survive. "She's coming with us," he decided. "Alert the shuttle. We have a guest." Wade's surprise was evident even through his helmet. "Sir, Command won't like." "I'll deal with Command," Julian cut him off. "This one might have valuable intelligence." As Wade moved away to relay the orders, Julian turned back to Zaria. "I'm not accepting whatever specific offer you were making, but I am sparing your life. For now." Relief washed over her features, followed quickly by wariness. "Then what do you want from me, human?" "Information," he replied simply. "And perhaps a way to end this conflict without further bloodshed." A strange expression crossed her alien features, something between hope and disbelief. You would consider peace. After all this. Julian gestured to the battlefield around them. This benefits no one. If there's another way, I'm willing to listen. Then perhaps we both might survive this war after all, Zarya said. The journey to the human base was a blur of swirling snow and tense silence. Zarya sat rigid in the transport shuttle, her wrists bound by energy restraints that hummed with a soft red glow. Across from her, Commander Reeves had removed his helmet, revealing a face that surprised her. She had expected the battle-hardened commander to be older, scarred, perhaps ugly by human standards. Instead, she found herself studying strong features framed by close-cropped dark hair, deep-set eyes the color of Glacius's stormy skies, and a jawline that could have been carved from stone. His gaze remained fixed on her, analytical and cautious. The shuttle's interior was uncomfortably warm for a Solarite. Beads of moisture formed on Zarya's golden skin as her body struggled to adapt to the human-preferred temperature. Your kind prefers the cold, he observed, breaking the silence that had stretched between them since leaving the battlefield. Zarya shook her head. Not cold. We prefer balanced temperatures. Our homeworld has extreme variations, burning days and freezing nights. We adapt. She shifted uncomfortably in her restraints. This heat, however, is rather intimate for my people. Intimate. Julian's eyebrow arched. Warmth is associated with closeness. Private spaces. Vulnerability. A deeper golden flush spread across her cheeks. It's why many of my kind offer to serve the victor in exchange for life. Heat signifies surrender. Understanding dawned in Julian's eyes. So your offer wasn't just about survival. I was desperate, Zarya admitted. But yes, it's a traditional surrender between warriors. The victor claims more than just the battlefield. Julian leaned forward, elbows on his knees. And that's acceptable to your people. Being claimed as some sort of prize. It's considered honorable, she replied. Better than death. And not permanent, just until the victor releases the claim. She met his gaze directly. Your reaction suggests humans view this differently. A muscle twitched in Julian's jaw. Very differently. We don't take prisoners as companions. Then why am I still alive, Commander? Zarya asked softly. Before he could answer, the shuttle lurched as it began its descent. Through the viewport, Zarya caught her first glimpse of the human base, a sprawling complex of prefabricated structures surrounded by a shimmering energy barrier that held back Glacius's perpetual blizzards. You're alive because you might be useful, Julian finally said, though something in his tone suggested he wasn't entirely convinced of his own reasoning. As the shuttle touched down and the rear hatch opened, Zarya wondered if she had made the right choice. Surrender meant life, but what kind of life awaited her in the hands of these humans? And how long would it take before Commander Julian Reeves discovered the real reason she had sought him out on that battlefield? She looked at his strong profile as he rose to his feet, and for the first time in years, felt something beyond the cold calculation of survival. Interest. Curiosity. And perhaps, though she would not admit it even to herself, the first dangerous flicker of attraction. Dangerous alliance. 3 days after bringing Zarya to the Glacius Forward Operating Base, Julian found himself in General Harlow's office facing an unexpected directive. You want me to do what? He asked, certain he had misheard. General Benedict Harlow remained impassive behind his desk. Intelligence believes we can extract more valuable information by exploiting the prisoner's cultural expectations. By exploiting, you mean allowing her to believe her offer of servitude is being considered. Julian's voice was tight with barely contained anger. The general's clinical tone made the suggestion even more unsettling. Major Thornton's cultural analysis indicates that in Solarite society, such arrangements create a bond of trust. We need that trust, Commander. Julian felt his jaw tighten. With respect, General, that crosses several ethical lines. This is war, Reeves. Lines get crossed. Harlow slid a data pad across the desk. Her information about Warlord Orn's mountain stronghold checked out. The intelligence she's provided so far has been accurate but limited. We need more, and quickly. And you think pretending to accept her cultural practices is the way to get it? I think giving her what she expects will lower her guard. Harlow's eyes narrowed. I've seen how she looks at you, Commander. And how you look at her. Don't pretend there isn't already something developing there. Heat crept up Julian's neck. My interest is purely professional. Keep telling yourself that, Harlow replied dryly, but use whatever connection exists to our advantage. That's an order. As Julian left the general's office, conflict churned within him. The mission parameters felt wrong, yet he couldn't deny his growing fascination with Zarya. Every interaction left him more intrigued by her alien perspective and undeniable allure. When he reached Zarya's quarters, comfortable but secure accommodations rather than a cell, he found her practicing some form of martial art. Her movements were fluid and graceful despite the confined space. She stopped mid-motion when the door opened, copper hair falling loose around her shoulders. Commander, she greeted him, slightly breathless. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten me. Hardly possible, he replied before he could stop himself. A smile played at her lips. Have you been thinking about our conversation? About different ways to build trust. Julian stepped fully into the room, allowing the door to close behind him. I've been investigating your claims about Warlord Ornn's new base in the southern mountains. Zarya moved closer, her scent, something like cinnamon and warm stone, filling his senses. And they checked out. He maintained eye contact, searching for any hint of deception. Which raises an interesting question: why would you so readily betray your own commander? I told you. He betrayed me first. A shadow crossed her features. But there's something else you should know. Julian raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. The information I gave you was accurate but incomplete. Zarya sat on the edge of her bed, gesturing for him to join her. When he remained standing, she continued, Warlord Ornn has formed an alliance with the Shadow Syndicate. They're providing him with experimental weapons technology. What kind of technology? Her amber eyes held his. The kind that could penetrate your base's defenses. She patted the space beside her. I can tell you more, but first, join me. Please. Julian hesitated, the general's orders echoing in his mind. Use whatever connection exists to our advantage. With deliberate casualness, he sat beside her, maintaining a professional distance. Why tell me this now? Why not when you first arrived? Because I needed to know if you could be trusted. Zarya's hand moved to rest lightly on his arm. In my culture, information is currency. The most valuable secrets are only shared in intimate settings. The touch of her warm fingers sent an unexpected jolt through him. And this qualifies as intimate by Solarite standards. It's a start. Her voice dropped lower. But there are more effective ways to build the kind of trust needed for the information you want. Julian was acutely aware of the surveillance cameras in the room, of his superiors likely watching this interaction with clinical interest. The thought sickened him, even as another part of him responded to Zarya's proximity. These weapons, he said, steering the conversation back to safer ground. When will they be deployed? Zarya's fingers traced a pattern on his arm. Soon. Within days. She frowned. But there's something that doesn't add up about Ornn's strategy. It's almost as if. As if what? Julian prompted when she trailed off. As if he wants to be discovered. Her brow furrowed. The southern base is too obvious. Warlord Ornn is many things, but careless isn't one of them. A warning bell sounded in Julian's mind. You think it's a trap? I think there's more happening than either of us understands. Zarya's hand moved to his face, her warm palm resting against his cheek. Trust works both ways, Commander. I've given you valuable information. Now I need something in return. What do you want? His voice had grown hoarse. The truth about why humans came to Glacius. Her eyes searched his. This isn't just about territorial expansion, is it? Julian felt caught between duty and something else, something dangerous and undefined. General Harlow wanted him to exploit Zarya's cultural expectations, but what if she was doing exactly the same to him? No, he admitted finally. It's not just about expansion. But that information is classified. Nothing stays classified between allied warriors. Zarya leaned closer, her breath warm against his skin. In my culture, there are no secrets between those who choose to fight together. The implication hung between them, charged and tempting. Julian knew what his superiors expected, what they had ordered: use her cultural beliefs to gain her trust, extract information. But as Zaria's face drew nearer to his, another possibility occurred to him. "What if I told you," he said carefully, "that I'm under orders to exploit your cultural practices to gain your trust?" Surprise flickered across her features, followed by something like respect. "Then I would say you are more honorable than most warriors I've known, to admit such a thing. And if I also told you that despite those orders, I find myself genuinely drawn to you?" A genuine smile spread across her face. "Then I would say humans and Solarites might not be so different after all." The moment stretched between them, taut with possibility. Julian knew he stood at a crossroads, duty on one path, something unknown but compelling on the other. "Warlord Orn," he said finally. "Is he really planning an attack, or is this all an elaborate deception?" Zaria's smile faded. "Orn is planning something, but I'm beginning to wonder if I'm as much in the dark as you are." She withdrew her hand from his face. "Perhaps we're both being manipulated." "By whom?" "That," she said softly, "is what we need to discover. Together." Later that night, Lieutenant Wade slammed a data pad onto General Harlow's desk. "This is the surveillance footage from the alien prisoners' quarters, sir. Commander Reeves is compromised." Harlow reviewed the footage with narrowed eyes, Reeves sitting beside the Solarite female, her hand on his face, their faces drawing close. "Interesting," he murmured, "but not entirely unexpected." "Sir, regulations clearly state." "I know the regulations, Lieutenant." Harlow silenced him with a sharp look. "What I find more concerning is this." He pulled up another file, communications logs between the base and an unknown frequency. These encrypted transmissions originated from the prisoners' quarters during Reeves's visits. Wade's eyes widened. "She's transmitting intelligence to the enemy? Or receiving instructions?" Harlow leaned back in his chair. "Either way, it appears our Commander Reeves has been thoroughly played by this alien seductress. We should inform High Command immediately." "Not yet." Harlow's lips curved into a cold smile. "Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Continue monitoring, but tell no one else about this. I want to build an airtight case before we move." "Yes, sir." Wade hesitated. "And Commander Reeves? Let him dig his own grave." Meanwhile, Julian couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Zaria's face, felt the warm touch of her hand against his skin. Their conversation replayed in his mind, raising more questions than answers. His comm unit chimed, displaying a message from Major Thornton: "Unusual energy signatures detected near Southern Base. Possible weapons test. Briefing at 0600. The timing was too perfect. Zaria reveals information about experimental weapons, and hours later they detect unusual energy signatures. Was she feeding him accurate intelligence or leading them into a trap? A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Checking the time, 0200 hours, he frowned. No one should be at his quarters at this hour. When he opened the door, Zaria stood in the corridor, a security guard unconscious at her feet. What the hell? Julian reached for his sidearm, but Zaria raised her hand in surrender. He's only stunned. I needed to see you privately. Her eyes darted nervously down the corridor. Someone's monitoring our conversations, using them to feed false information to both sides. Julian kept his weapon trained on her. How did you escape your quarters? Your security systems aren't designed for Solarite physiology. She stepped forward, forcing him to back into his room. We don't have much time. They'll discover I'm gone soon. Who's they? Someone in your command structure is working with Warlord Orn. Zaria's voice was urgent. I've been receiving coded messages through the surveillance system in my quarters. At first, I thought they were from Orn's loyalists, but the pattern was wrong. So you've been communicating with someone? Julian's suspicions hardened. You lied to me. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. Zaria moved closer, seemingly unconcerned by the weapon pointed at her. I needed to confirm my suspicions before I brought them to you. And what suspicions are those? That this war is being engineered by a third party, someone who benefits from humans and Solarites destroying each other. Her eyes locked with his. Someone who has infiltrated both our command structures. Julian wanted to dismiss her claims as desperate fabrications, but they aligned too well with inconsistencies he'd noticed himself. You have proof? Not yet. But I know how to get it. She was close enough now that the barrel of his gun nearly touched her chest. I need you to trust me, Julian. Not because of cultural traditions or military orders, but because what's happening here is bigger than both of us. The use of his first name shouldn't have affected him, but it did. If you're playing me, he warned. I'm not. She placed her hand over his on the weapon. I swear it on my life,